DAO, and we are very glad to have the folks from Home DAO here on our podcast. We're going to do a Twitter Spaces, but now it seems that doing a podcast is the best way to go. We're excited to get into what Home DAO is, how you guys got started on this, and how you fit into the broader refi ecosystem. So thanks for being with us.
We're excited to be here. Great to be with you, Johnny and Elliot, and looking forward to the conversation today.
Awesome. Yeah, for those who are joining us today, we have with us Andrew Bittner, Director of Business Development and Strategic Partnerships, and also the Sustainability Astronaut at Home DAO. Andrew, how did you get that nickname or title?
You know, I assume you're talking about the Sustainability Astronaut, since that's the way more fun title to discuss. So I think we got that from probably just being a group of guys that are willing to go where no one is willing to go. So not only are we tackling sustainability at the probably most amazing point in history, but we're also combining it with crypto. So let's just get completely out into outer space and pull it back to Earth and see what we can make out of all of it.
I love that. Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up in the sustainability space?
Yeah, I'd love to be able to share it. I think sustainability has become one of the coolest things that I've ever been a part of. And my background is been about 12 years into the energy space, and really diving into sustainability maybe just over the last 5 or 6 as I've been able to fully grasp what it really means. And it's just been an incredible ride of experience all the way through and through. And then, my background then with Home DAO is that this has been a pet project for a lot of the people in the sustainability space that we talked to for about the last 5 years. And over the last year, we said, this is the time to go do this and really make a change in the planet and really band together people in a way that I don't know if we'll ever have an opportunity to again as humanity if we didn't do it at the perfect time. And I think that's now. So we're really going to dig into it, and I'd love to tell you all kinds of backstory about where we've been and where we're going.
Yeah, keep going. Backstory. Where have you been and where are you going?
All right. So I've been an entrepreneur in energy, I think, for the last 12 years. And I've seen a lot of things change in the energy world. And I think that's probably one of the most exciting things about being in the energy space is that it is always changing. It is always evolving. But I think one of the most inspiring things that I've seen in the energy space is being able to work with schools and being able to work and impact communities that are connected to sustainability and energy, the connection with kids, connecting with people that are now starting to see that sustainability and energy production and healthy food and education and clean water, access to being able to see the internet as we're looking at things like what's happening in Russia and the Ukraine and the limitation of communication. All of these things really coming in together to see how big of a difference sustainability is, and being able to have access to the freedoms that sustainability offers it has really been developing over the last, I think, 5 or 6 years in a really hands-on way for me. And it's just been an incredible ride in this entire energy sector.
Yeah, so what is Home DAO exactly?
I think what we're really trying to do with Home DAO is be a movement, be the mission. We really believe that Home DAO is the way that humanity can come in and truly band together for an inside-out approach to really reimagine the way that we produce and use our basic needs as humans on this planet together. And so building community is really that key that has to happen first. And Home DAO is really, I think, the embodiment then of sustainability as a community. And we're all about creating an ecosystem that embraces sustainability as infrastructure, as a lifestyle, as an embodiment of freedom. But it's definitely more than just ideas. Most of our dev team is engineers. It's action-oriented people that really want to go make a change and a difference in the world. And so right now, our dev team is about 12 people that are also sustainability astronauts. These guys are engineers, they're developers, financial analysts, real estate people. So we've been in the energy industry for a long time, and we really want to just rewrite the way that everything comes together. So we've got real projects in the space, and we want to go out and prove what we know and do every day, which is that sustainable, clean energy, sustainable ways of living are actually cheaper and better and healthier for the people, for the planet, and for profit, all at once. So Home DAO is kind of the embodiment of all of those things in one organization that we hope everybody that cares about sustainability in whatever area can come and be part of our group and mission that we're just kind of kicking off so that everyone can come join us as well.
Love that. Those are some lofty goals. What is step one, or what is the first stepping stone for Home DAO as you guys enter the space?
I think for us right now, it's the community. It's being able to show a community what's possible, and then build that community. So we're really focused on action, like I was just talking about. So I think that the big thing now is show people, hey, look, yes, we have ideas, but we also have $200 million worth of sustainability projects that are good for people, for planet, and are profitable. And so let's prove to everyone that you can go build infrastructure that is cheaper than the current electrical grid. You can free communities from monopolies. You can free communities from some of the binds that they may have always been in. And so for us, it's take action as soon as possible, and build that community that can see action happening the entire time and jump on no matter what place that they are in their life, whether they're an entrepreneur that cares a ton about sustainability, or whether they're an activist, or they're a stay-at-home mom that just wants to be part of something that changes the world. Wherever you are, we want to be able to meet you where you are and give you a path and place to be able to make an impact.
You said a number just now. Can you repeat that number for me?
$200 million in projects ready to go.
Yeah, say more about that. What are these projects? Who's sponsoring them? That is a large ticket and something that I think a lot of us want to know more about.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the natural rollout of what's happening in our project, is people are starting to realize as we drip more information out. I mean, we've only come out to the public in our soft launch over the last month and a half. But this is something we've been building for 5 years, and we're engineering guys. So we build everything in reverse. We wouldn't have come out to the public if we were just a concept. We wanted to come out to the public when we could prove that clean energy was cheaper. It happens to be our specialty. We certainly want to get into other sustainable things like clean water, in education and in other areas, but we're really, really good at clean energy. And so what we've done is we've gone out to communities and we've partnered with communities that said, if you guys can build us clean energy cheaper than the grid, and it's better for the planet and better for our people, we'll do it. And so we started with those communities, those developers, telling them what we were going to build and asking them to really come out and say that they were willing to do it if we could find a way to pull together everything on the backside. And the beautiful thing is they signed up, and they signed up in droves. So we've got $200 million in infrastructure projects for clean energy ready to go to communities that want what we talk about on this podcast.
That's really cool. I want to give some other people a chance to ask questions, and if not, I will keep going.
Certainly.
So I'm super curious. You have $200 million worth of projects that are waiting to go in the pipeline. What's the next step to get those implemented, or like what is the what's in between right now and then having those $200 million worth of projects brought to fruition?
So right now, the biggest thing that's in the way of really, I think, most sustainability development across the world is the proper funding mechanisms to be able to go out there and build it. Could we go to banks? Could we go to large institutions and have them fund these projects? Yeah, in a heartbeat. They are commercial, large-scale projects in the multi-millions of dollars. They're for communities, so they're incredibly safe investments. But the reality is we didn't want to go back and centralize these projects again and sell them to the same types of institutions that are really, really good at centralizing things because it's a tremendous business model. And, I appreciate that business model. I'm a product of a lot of those wonderful things that can happen when you do centralize things from a financial standpoint, but that's not our goal with this project. Never has been. If we wanted to do that, we would run a for-profit entity, but instead we really wanted to flip this around and put the people in control. And so what we're really doing now is flipping that on its head, and we're looking now to build a treasury in our DAO. So ultimately, our community can be a part of the ownership of those projects. And so we kind of built out these projects as a labor of love that can be that successful launching point, so that when somebody joins our community, they don't have to hope that it will work and hope that our pitch to the larger world is going to be accepted. They can know that the demand is out there and it's already built, and they simply can just come join a successful movement already.
That's fascinating. One of the things that I like to ask decentralized organizations, and I say that almost tongue-in-cheek, because at the stage that most DAOs are at, it's a fairly centralized core team with a roadmap at progressive decentralization to be fully decentralized at some point in the future. So I'm wondering how you think about the role of decentralization in what you're doing, and why perhaps using blockchain or a philosophy of decentralization is valuable for what you guys are trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's the question on everybody's mind right now, right? I mean, we would love nothing more than for this to already be in a place where it could be fully decentralized, but I think everybody kind of understands that someone's got to guide it to an initial place where it then can operate on its own. But these DAOs right now and ours and most DAOs right now are seedlings, and they need to be built into trees and then turned over to the community. And obviously we want to do that as soon as we possibly can. This is a project that's for the people, but yeah, ultimately we think we'll probably have to be around this project for 6 months, maybe 18 months, depending on how everything goes, before we really can turn that over to the community. But we want to have as much governance and voting and community insight as we possibly can up until those areas to make sure that it's all so that people realize how important their input is, and they can see that we're listening and building along with what they really want to do.
That's awesome. Thank you for that. And I know you can't give too much away, and also I know that things are in flux, but what are some ideas that you all have as a way of getting people to join Home DAO and getting their input on these projects?
So I think one of the first ways that we're looking to do that is what we've seen from our peers is a very successful way to build a community is to offer an NFT project that has a ton of community benefits. Obviously, we want it to be beautiful art, but also at the same time, we want that to enable our community to have some super benefits for supporting the project as it gets going. So I think our NFT drop is going to be one of the big ways for things to really get up and get started. But then I think also just as much as the financial support that we'll gain through the NFT launch to be able to put the project into hyperdrive by having more resources, I think it's also really starting to get people involved in the Discord and talking about what sustainability means to them, what opportunities they see, how they can jump in and be part of a larger movement. And I think one of the reasons we wanted to come on and talk to ClimateDAO is because we think that there should also be a uniting of a lot of the different DAOs that share the same missions. And how can we band together to make everybody stronger? We're all in this new world together, and I feel like we're all stronger together than we are separately. So I think those are some of the initial things that are just top of mind for us.
Very cool. Alex, I think you have a question.
Yes. So, hi, Andy. Thanks so much for coming to speak with us today. So my question is, what types of sustainable development projects are you looking to fund? Or have you funded? Is it mostly solar, wind, hydro, thermal, sustainable transportation? And that's my question. So thank you.
Alex, it's a great question. So we love all types of different projects. I mean, if we're doing a project in Phoenix, Arizona, you can guess it's probably going to be more focused on solar. If we're doing a project in Chicago, there might be some wind available right there. So everything that we look at really is engineering and location specific. I think that's one of the beautiful things about planet Earth is everything's a little bit different everywhere. One of my favorite philosophers is Alan Watts, and one of his famous sayings is that the world is a rhythm doing a rhythm. And so if you try to pin down and just say, as a sustainability advisor, especially one that does it every day the way that we do on an engineering side, if you try to choose one technology over the other in a broad landscape, you're really missing the boat. I think everything comes together. And I think that was one of the challenges that we had probably with things like solar or wind 5 or 6 years ago even. I heard people at conferences, some of the best engineers in the world, arguing solar or wind. And I thought they were crazy back then, and I still do. It should be solar and. It should be wind and. Batteries are amazing at what they do, but they're not the end game. Solar the same way. Hydro is amazing, but it's not the only thing. We don't have hydro opportunities everywhere. So we have to always be willing to embrace, I think, an ecosystem. And the other side of that is energy efficiency. A lot of people don't talk about it, but if you don't have to build a power plant 50% bigger than you would have, you save a ton of money. So a lot of things is just being able to build microgrids on site. For example, one of the most successful things we're seeing is for school districts, for example, is being able to put solar on the top of their roof, put wind out in some of their windy areas, have batteries, and then also do holistic energy efficiency projects so that we can completely take people off the grid. But we're doing it on 20 different energy conservation measures and 4 or 5 different generation measures. And that's what really works. And so that's how you make it pencil. That's how you make it last for a long time. That's how you diversify so that if one thing happens, it doesn't take down the whole system. I think sustainability itself teaches all those principles, but more beautifully, the engineering says diversify and have as many different options as possible. And that's how you see large success.
Perfect. Thank you.
If I lived in a small or medium-sized town in America, and I look around and say, hey, it's pretty windy here, or it's sunny most of the time, how can I, as like a citizen of that area, help drive this change towards more renewables in our grid?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that people don't realize right now how much influence they really have on their local communities. If you're one person on Twitter and you're shouting to the United States government that they need to change their renewable policies, that's a challenge. But if you're one person in your small town and you go 3 weeks in a row to your city council meeting and say, guys, there is a real sustainability opportunity out here, and I keep hearing that things are cheaper than the grid. We just need to be looking at opportunities. Have we done a feasibility study? Has our community investigated this? The community will listen. And I think that's the biggest thing that people can do, is be willing to stand up, write a letter, but go to a city council meeting for 3 weeks in a row and get noticed, and tell them to break their habits of it is the way it always was, and let them know there are opportunities. And we want those communities to reach out to the Home DAO and say, hey, we're curious. We'd like to figure out a way. We'd like to figure out a solution. And then we can help those communities step by step evaluate and perform feasibility studies to determine what options they can do. Is every community instantly going to become a microgrid and be perfectly sustainable? No. Can they start somewhere? And can they usually start 5 times bigger than they ever dreamed? Yes. And I think that's the cool part about where we live in 2022, is that the answer really is now yes for most communities across the US and especially across the world, where they pay even way more for energy.
Nice. I just got the message from Zoom because, like we said, inflation's pretty rough right now. So Zoom is going to kick us off in about 10 minutes. So Elliot, I saw you unmute. I want to give you a chance to take us home.
Yeah, sure. So switching gears a little bit and thinking about how the structure itself of a DAO applies to your mission and how you guys plan to instantiate that. How are you thinking about tokenization, if that's even on the horizon? I know a lot of DAOs in the early stages or when they're just announcing don't have a real thought out strategy yet on tokenization, but I'm curious if you guys have thought about that and how it might impact like the incentives of your members and how that'll result in like you guys reaching your mission.
Definitely. I mean, tokenization is something that we have been thinking about for 5 years. And I think we've only drawn up about 3,000 models. And they change every week, seemingly. We update or adjust or do something to try to make sure that our community is understood and valued in the tokenomics of it for the long term. We're trying to figure out what is the most sustainable tokenomics setup, and how do you make sure that the DAO itself has enough resources to be able to handle the growth. we're in a unique position where we're designing and implementing to where we legitimately feel like we could become the largest utility company in the world that is not a utility company. But ultimately, it could be connected to more infrastructure for sustainability than anything else on the planet within a relatively short period of time. So we have a tremendous burden of a lot of financial engineering, a lot of engineering, and a lot of healthy debate and discussion to try to figure those things out. So I think the way that we're going to address it is just by floating our best ideas that we've come up with so far in our white paper and make sure that our community embraces those tokenomics as we launch, so that they can feel like they're a part of that process before we go and just start minting tokens and passing things out to anybody that may be on our dev team. We really, really, really want to make sure that we've dialed in for community first.
Thank you. Yeah, the way that we've been thinking about it, partially like the framework, is essentially there are behaviors that we want to incentivize on the platform that we're building. And if we want to incentivize people to, for example, link a brokerage account or to provide valuable climate related or corporate governance related data on our platform, then we want to incentivize them using tokens, but while maintaining the value of the token and making sure that those who invested in the project early see like ample returns, but also while divorcing the economic rights of the token to any underlying assets for navigating securities laws, which also I think for almost every DAO is like a really big question mark. How do you navigate the securities laws that are more often than not, things are illegal and not illegal because they have not been explicitly outlined by like any governing structures.
Yeah, Elliot, I think you're nailing it right there on the head. And that's all of the information that we're hearing from our legal teams, as well as communication with other Web3 developers and teams and DAOs. It is a fine line. And ultimately, we want to make sure that the DAO is protected so that our members in the future are also protected. Last thing we want to do is see a rug pull by the SEC. So, we want to make sure that from a very beginning, we're doing our due diligence to help build a safe, sustainable community that everybody can get around. And so I think that's why initially we're looking at Home DAO being a foundation, and our token being really initially around our community and governance. And then ultimately at some point, I think we will likely go down the securitization token with a different token within an ecosystem, maybe, where we can be very clear about what those expectations are. Renewable energy and sustainable assets are a tremendous opportunity to bridge the real world infrastructure to have that backed by a token. And so a token can really be connected ultimately to a piece of infrastructure, but that has to be something different than what our governance and community token is. And so those are the same challenges that we're trying to navigate as well.
Amazing. Andrew, this has been such an amazing intro to Home DAO. Thank you so much. I think, I don't want to speak too soon, but I think this might be just one of many conversations that we have in between our two DAOs. I think maybe in a couple of weeks, we can all get back together on Twitter Spaces and pick a topic, maybe debate, maybe come to the table with two different opinions and just hash out different ways of saving the world, because in a friendly way, because the more we talk, the more we build in public, the closer we get to saving the world. Thank you again for making the time for us. And I want to give you a quick 60 seconds to tell everyone where to find you guys, how they can follow along with Home DAO, how they can get involved.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, it's been a pleasure being able to just come and talk. And I love the idea of being able to have some healthy debates and some challenges about these complex issues and sustainability. But for those of you that have heard something and been tweaked in one way, or something that we said really enabled something to go off in your heart, we'd love for you to come out and join us, or at least follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is at the Home DAO. That's also our website, thehomedao.com. We've got a Sooniverse page in the IOTA ecosystem, which we care a ton about. And ultimately, guys, I think we're just really excited too about being here with you. I think the project that ClimateDAO has is inspirational, and the work that you're doing to take on some major players and help them identify strategies and ways to change their operations to go towards sustainability is huge. And commend everything that you guys are up to, and would love to continue to share best practices with you as we all evolve together.
Did our DAOs just become best friends?
I think that's the beautiful thing about sustainability, is that everyone truly understands that by being connected to others, you're better. And so the more friends we have, but I think you guys are definitely along the lines of best friends. So we really appreciate being here.
100%. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we'll talk soon.